Okay, you guys ready? Do you want me? What do you want me to start with?
So like 5-year-old probably.
Yeah, well, we can start with that. So as many of you know, yesterday we actually put out some information to the public asking for assistance, looking for a beautiful little 5-year-old girl here in Aurora that had been brought to our attention by her maternal grandmother, who called out of state from Georgia, expressing concern that her granddaughter might have been put up for adoption, and she was concerned about her welfare and her well-being. The initial contact by the grandma came in late Sunday. Patrol officers actually responded to the apartment complex, to the apartment residence where our little victim was living with her mom. They didn't develop any information at that time that would provide any reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe a crime had been committed. The mother didn't give patrol at that time any reason to believe there was anything afoul. So grandma called in again a day or two later, and by Tuesday, our patrol officers started thinking something's not. Why is grandma calling? Why is she so concerned? So they started making some inquiries and didn't find any evidence of an adoption in our region. They actually reached out through our Crimes Against Children detective unit, and an investigation immediately started. I can tell you that on Tuesday, when Aurora 911 received a call from out-of-state person again, reporting that they were concerned about the grandma, their daughter, we responded. The mother actually made some very intentional misleading statements to our personnel, who, after they were able to confirm that the statements were absolutely false and had evidence of that fact, they made an initial arrest. Yesterday, as the investigation continued, we prepared and secured several warrants, and a search warrant was executed at the apartment. Sadly, last night, as you know, our little beautiful little girl, that if you see that little picture of her, we believe that we actually found her. We found remains that we believe to be that of a young child, and unfortunately, because of the conditions of those remains, a positive identification could not be made. I actually went to that scene last night when I got the word. Anytime that you hear these cases involving little children, I know it impacts our investigators. I know it impacts our community. And so myself and Chief Hildebrand actually responded to the scene last night, and I can just tell you it was tough to see our cops that had to find that little angel in the condition they found her in. And we're highly confident that this is going to end up being our missing child. The mom had been arrested prior to that search warrant being executed for providing false information, misleading information, basically for lying to police officers about the truth. And additional charges have been filed against her since the remains were found last night. I would venture to say that there's a high probability that murder charges will end up being filed in this case at some point in the very near future. I would venture to guess it's a high probability of that. So I want to just say to this community that, we need to be vigilant and pay attention to our neighbors. We need to be good neighbors, and we need to not just know our own families, not just to know who's biased, but get to know your neighbor, because maybe if someone had known this child and maybe known this child close enough and a good neighbor, we might have been able to get information that may have potentially saved their lives. If you believe a child is being abused, or you believe a child's being neglected, or you think there's an issue with the child, please do not hesitate to come forward. I was able to talk to the maternal grandmother this morning and express my condolences along with our CAC detectives and our victim services. And our hearts go out to the family. Think about this grandma. She's probably going to not just lose a grandchild, but now she loses a daughter as well. But the grandma did the right thing, and for that I'm grateful. Like I told her this morning, thanks to her and her courage and her love, that little child will end up being able to get a proper burial sooner rather than later, instead of being stuffed in some closet. So with that, I will open it up to questions, but I do want to just say to our investigators, I want to just say that I'm proud of their dogged pursuit of this child and dogged pursuit of the truth. And as a result of their efforts and a loving grandmother, we'll be able to bring justice to that baby. So with that, I'll open up to any questions, but remember the investigation is ongoing. It's early on in the investigation, but again, we're very confident that this is going to be our victim.
Where was the victim found?
At the mother's apartment.
Did you say in a closet?
Yeah.
Covered with anything? Or
Well, you know what? I'm not sure how much we've talked to the suspect since then, so I'd rather not put too many details out, because when it comes to the actual details, the only ones who should know that right now are really the police officers, the crime scene techs, and the coroners, and the folks that are involved in the recovery, and the suspect that put that child into that condition. So I'm not going to talk about the specifics.
did it appear that the child had been in that closet for a while, had been dead for a while?
Yes.
A long one? Was she close?
Yes. And it's never fun to find bodies in that condition, especially when it's a little child. So, and again, we're not going to talk any more details about that
Who
piece of
reported the
it.
child missing initially?
The grandma, the maternal grandma, who's I believe out of Georgia.
Do we know if there was any, I guess, record of abuse of this child beforehand?
That's part of the ongoing investigation, but I'm not aware of any reports at this time.
And no calls to that apartment as far as you know?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But again, it's important, that we've got to know, you've got to be nosy neighbors, you've got to be good neighbors, and I think that we need to keep an eye out for each other. And I'm just grateful that our officers, our investigators found this baby, and this baby is going to be properly placed to put to rest.
Did Nelson have full custody, or was there anybody else involved in this child's life?
Actually, the only one's mom. Dad lives out of state, and we've also talked to the father's and the father's family as well. So, but maternal family and paternal families have all been contacted by our department.
So was it the grandmother who said that her daughter might have put the child up for adoption, correctly, since it was the daughter who said she used that as an alibi?
Well, the grandmother was worried about it. The daughter claimed that, and that's part of the intentional false statements, trying to hamper, I would say trying to interfere, trying to put our police officers in the wrong direction. So those are some of the initial charges, and I can look at the specific charge and let you know what that was. Anything else? And just...
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
we should hear
So we had a 13-year-old that was struck by a round at a residence. I can say that this does not appear to be excuse me 1 second. Bless you. Sorry. Okay. Yes, I can say this does not appear to be a random act. There had been we've developed the information. There had been another drive-by shooting at that residence earlier in the last week or two, and it was not reported by the father in that house. I can tell you that thankfully that 13-year-old is going to be okay, so to be fine, but it appears that there potentially could be a nexus here. And one of the things I think when we have this type of violence is, what does it mean to me? What does it mean to my family? As people in Aurora or Denver or anywhere in our region or any major American city, when there's a young person shot, statistics are one thing, but people want to know, what does that mean to me? What is the likelihood that I have to worry about my child being shot inside my home? And in this case, which is the case in a lot of our violent crime, you live with a sword, it ends up creating consequences, and unfortunately it appears that this young man lives with an older sibling that may be involved in some gang activity that could be what exactly they're being targeted for. So we're going to continue to work as a city with our city partners to work with youth, with non-governmental organizations to try to intervene, disrupt, to some of our nonprofits to try to get these kids, as it relates to just youth violence, which is a huge problem, not just in the Denver metro area, not just in Colorado, but across the country. It's a huge problem, juvenile crime. And I'm so thankful that enough members of the legislature got enough sense towards the end of the session, at the very end of the session, when police chiefs got together and stood against HB, I think it was 1249, where they wanted to change the law where no one under the age of 13 could be charged with a crime other than murder. So attempted murders, no problem. Sexual assault, no problem. Robbery, no problem. Aggravated assault, no problem. Every crime under the sun, but unless it's a murder. And thank God that the police chiefs came together and convinced enough members of the assembly here at the state capitol to go in a different direction. Because what you do when you do something like that, you take a problem that's a huge problem here and across the country, and you just made it worse. You take a problem where a lot of young people under the age of 13 today are already being targeted, manipulated, used by older youth and adults to carry out crimes. And now if you say, hey, anyone under 13, there's no accountability, I promise you, we already see it, and I'd have a little debate with a member of the legislature. They're the expert, I guess, 36 years of policing and being out in the streets. We're the ones that answer 911, not the members of the legislature. We're the ones that are going out there with our cops when young people are shot, right? So don't tell us we don't know that kids are being manipulated and used, and that would have been a disaster for our state. So we're going to be continuing to work, coming up with our intervention program that we have going on, and then I'm very proud of the fact that our city was selected by the Bureau of Justice Assistance to be part of a program at the national level to actually combat violent crime. And we have actually put together a program called SAVE, which is Standing Against Violence Every Day, which is really about focused deterrence. Deterrence, where we're going to work very closely on this issue in the upcoming weeks, months, and years. And I'm confident that as we get this program further developed and further deployed out there, you're going to see some tangible results. The last thing I will say about youth violence before I open it up to questions, to parents and to the business community. They say that an idle mind is the devil's playground. And when the summer just started across the country and across this region, know where your kids are at during the day. Having them hang out in the mall by themselves is probably not a good idea. And quite honest, the business community and the parents, the best gift we can give our kids is a summer job. There are a lot of help wanted signs across the country, across the state, across the city, across this region. And there's no reason why young people can't go be busboys, servers, you name it. The jobs are out there. So parents, if you want to do something good for your kid, do what my parents did to me at the age of 13 when I decided I wanted to get a regular hairstyle. I wanted to get the feathered look back in the 70s. And my mom and dad said, you want that hairstyle? Go get yourself a job. And that's exactly what I did. You'll teach your kids about responsibility. You teach your kids about the importance of a dollar, and you'll keep your kids out of trouble. So help your kids get a job, and even during the school year, they have enough. With that, I'll open up to any questions.
So last year was a pretty bad year for youth violence in Aurora and throughout a lot of Metro Denver. I spoke earlier to a guy who's been involved in youth violence
Who was it?
Jason McBride.
Yeah,
Struggle for Love. He said he fears that this could be the worst year, the worst summer that we've seen in Metro Denver.
Yeah.
And, do you share his concern?
Every summer we share those concerns, right? I mean, summer, historically, the summer months across the nation are the months where you have, the days are long, the temperatures are hotter, and it's not just youth, it's the American psyche. We have a country where everyone has a firearm. Firearms are easy to get a hold of. I know that tomorrow the governor's going to be signing a bill on dealing with ghost guns, which I think is going to be helpful. But yeah, I do share that concern. Will it be the worst? I hope not. But we are going to be hoping for the best, preparing for the worst as a police department. I think our partners across the region, the nation, will do the same. I'm happy to say that year to date, we're into June now, and all violent crime across the city of Aurora is down. Homicides is down. Every category of violent crime is down year to date, and the only two categories are really that have gone up this year are burglaries and larceny. And you can replace things, but you can't replace lives and limbs. So we're in a good spot right now, but we have a long summer to go. Anything else?
Do we know the condition of the 13-year-old right now?
Yeah, I think they're going to be. I think they'll be fine. Anything is in Spanish?
We haven't found the suspect.
Not yet. But I'll tell you, you know what? Yeah, look, I got to just say to these suspects, this is Aurora. We are going to start chasing these suspects. We're starting to chase these suspects. We're going to pit these suspects. If we catch you here in this city, don't think you're just going to accelerate away and blah-de-da to get away with it. Because what we're seeing is a lot of good police work. We had a road rage, and I was out on patrol last Friday when our DART team actually, there was very little leads. A road rage on a highway, a shooting. And our DART team doggedly went looking again for the vehicle that we spotted. And they found him, and that individual is now in jail where they belong. So, word to the wise, go, you want to be the fool, don't do it in this city. Anything else?
Should there be any concern for the residents that live on that street of where the drive-by happened?
You know, I would say I don't want to live on a street where folks are living in a house that are attracting shootings. That's not a good thing. Fortunately, the shootings that are being are being directed to a specific house. But yeah, I would want to be with neighbors that are attracting that, and I think we've all at some point in our lives lived in a house or an apartment or somewhere where we had a neighbor that we really didn't want around, and I would say that's probably not the best neighbor to have around if they have people living there that are attracting this kind of deadly conduct.
Was he shot inside or outside?
Inside. Yeah, he was struck, and we don't believe he was the target, but we believe someone else in that household is involved and potentially involved in gang activity, and more likely is the target.
And it was a drive-by?
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Be safe out there. It's raining.